The follower would refuse to take it back.
They would say, no, this is our gift to you.
So now you have a traveler standing in an airport terminal, holding a flower they never asked for, feeling this immense, awkward tension. And then, only after the flower is accepted, the follower asks for a small donation to their society.
And the results were staggering.
Unbelievable results. It funded a massive international expansion. They built temples and schools worldwide, almost entirely funded by giving people unwanted flowers first.
It's wild.
But why? What is the physical mechanism happening in the brain of that traveler? Like, why not just drop the flower on the floor and keep walking?
Because dropping the flower violates a fundamental evolutionary imperative.
Really? It goes that deep.
It does. The underlying social contract of human civilization is built entirely on the concept of reciprocation. If early hominids didn't have a deeply ingrained, almost painful imperative to return favors, human societies could never have formed.
We would have just been isolated individuals.
Right. We wouldn't have been able to engage in trade, share food during a famine, or build tribal alliances. We are biologically wired to feel a burdensome, physiological sense of obligation when someone gives us something.
It feels like an itch you just have to scratch.
It is cognitive dissonance. The tension of being in debt is incredibly uncomfortable. What the Hare Krishnas figured out, and what Cialdini codifies, is that this rule is so overwhelmingly powerful that it completely overrides our personal preferences.
So even if I hate the person giving me the gift?
Exactly. The traveler might actively dislike the Hare Krishna follower. They might find the robes weird and the interaction annoying, but the discomfort of feeling indebted is greater than their dislike of the person.
Wow. So they give the donation just to relieve the psychological pressure of the unearned gift.
They buy their way out of the awkwardness.
That makes so much sense. And manipulators evolve this vulnerability into an even more insidious tactic called reject then retreat, or the door-in-the-face technique.
This one is fascinating because it takes the concept of a gift and abstracts it into a negotiation.
Okay, walk me through that.
Let's say I am a manipulator. I don't give you a physical flower. Instead, I start with a massive, entirely unreasonable request. I say, hey, would you be willing to volunteer 10 hours of your weekend, every weekend, for the next 2 years at our center?
And my immediate reaction is, absolutely not. I have a life. Get away from me.
Exactly. You reject the request. But then I immediately retreat. I look disappointed. I lower my voice and I say, well, I understand completely. That is a huge commitment. But could you at least make a one-time donation of $20?
And the brain thinks, oh, thank God, $20 is nothing compared to 2 years of my weekend. Sure, here's a 20.
It works almost every time.
But wait, where's the reciprocation there? I didn't receive a gift.
Ah, but you did. From the perspective of your subconscious, the manipulator made a concession.
Because they back down.
Yes, they backed down from their initial position. Your brain automatically registers that retreat as a favor granted to you. And because the rule of reciprocation demands that a favor be met with a favor, you feel an intense psychological pressure to make a concession in return.
And my concession is agreeing to the smaller request.
Which was the only request they actually cared about in the first place. The big request was just a decoy.
That is so sneaky.
What makes this technique so devastating, according to the research, is the aftermath. Victims of the reject then retreat tactic don't just comply more often. They actually report feeling a false sense of satisfaction.
You mean they feel good about it?
Yes. They believe they negotiated the manipulator down. They feel they won the interaction, which makes them highly susceptible to future manipulation from the same person.
They walk right into the trap, completely celebrating their own cleverness.
It is deeply unsettling.
It's basically hijacking our own desire for social harmony. But let's move to another button on the tape recorder. When we talk about these automatic reactions, Cialdini introduces a bizarre analogy from biology to explain the concept of social proof.
The turkey and the polecat.
Yes. It is so weird, but so perfect. It's about the maternal instincts of the turkey.
It is a perfect illustration of the click-whir vulnerability.
Right. So a mother turkey is incredibly protective, fiercely nurturing to her chicks, but she identifies her chicks almost entirely by one specific auditory trigger, the cheep cheep sound they make.
That sound is everything to her.
Now, a polecat is the natural enemy of the turkey. If a turkey sees a polecat, her instinct is immediate aggression. She will attack it to protect her nest. But animal behaviorists did this fascinating experiment.
I love this one.
They took a stuffed polecat on a string and pulled it toward the mother turkey. Predictably, she attacked it violently.
Because the visual stimuli triggered the defense state.
Right. But then the scientists put a small tape recorder inside the stuffed polecat. They pulled it toward the turkey again, but this time the tape recorder played the distinct cheep cheep sound of a baby turkey.
And her reaction completely changes.
Radically. The mother turkey didn't just stop attacking the predator. She actually gathered the stuffed polecat underneath her wings to keep it warm. The auditory trigger completely overrode her visual reality.
The cheep cheep sound pressed play on the maternal tape. Click. Whir.
She reacted entirely to the symbol of the thing, completely divorced from the reality of the thing sitting right in front of her.
And manipulators know that human beings have our own cheep cheep triggers, especially when it comes to social proof.
Yeah, we constantly look to the behavior of others to determine what is correct for ourselves.
And the most glaring, almost insulting example of this is the laugh track on a television sitcom.
It really is an insult when you think about it. It is a phenomenon that becomes absurd the very moment you critically examine it.
It really does.
Think about it. You are sitting alone on your couch. You know, intellectually, that the laughter coming out of your television speakers is a mechanical recording.
It's probably a recording of dead people from a studio audience in the 1950s.
Yes. It has absolutely zero organic connection to the joke an actor just delivered on a soundstage 3 months ago. Yet decades of studies consistently prove that laugh tracks work.
They absolutely work.
They make audiences rate the comedy as objectively funnier, and they make viewers laugh longer and more frequently.
Why does it work? Because the laugh track is the cheep cheep of the baby turkey.
That is so funny.
When we are uncertain, we look for social cues. Hearing the laughter is the cue. Our brain bypasses the critical evaluation of the joke itself. Was the writing clever? Was the delivery good? We don't even ask. We simply react to the social proof.
We laugh because we hear laughter.
We abdicate our own critical judgment to a simulated, non-existent crowd.
We outsource our thinking. And this abdication happens in another incredibly powerful way when we encounter scarcity.
Ah, yes. This introduces Jack Brem's theory of psychological reactance.
Brem's theory is essential for understanding how our desires are engineered, isn't it?
It really is. The core idea is that whenever our free choice is limited, restricted, or threatened, we experience a very specific, terrible psychological discomfort.
Like a physical reaction almost.
Yes. We instinctively react against the restriction to reclaim our autonomy.
You know, I like to call this the toddler brain.
The toddler brain.
Yeah. If you put a 2-year-old in a room full of wonderful, engaging toys, but you point to one plain wooden block and say, you cannot play with that block, what happens?
Every other toy in the room ceases to exist.
Exactly. That wooden block suddenly glows with magical importance. They must have it.
And adults flatter themselves by thinking they outgrow this. They do not. We simply internalize it.
We just get better at hiding it.
Right. When an advertiser tells us a product is a limited edition or a countdown clock on a website says a sale ends in 12 minutes, they are manufacturing artificial scarcity.
They are threatening our freedom to choose.
Exactly. Your freedom to evaluate that purchase calmly, on your own timeline, is being threatened. The psychological reactance kicks in. Your heart rate elevates, and you suddenly desire that item exponentially more than you did 5 minutes ago.
Even if you didn't really want it in the first place.
Right. You aren't buying the product because of its utility. You are buying it to alleviate the anxiety of restricted choice.
But the sources point out that this gets incredibly dangerous when we stop talking about limited edition sneakers and start talking about restricted information.
Yes, that is where it gets very serious. When information is censored, banned, or restricted, the psychological reactance does something fascinating. We don't just desire to consume the banned information more. We actually automatically assume the information is more true.
Wait, really? We assume it's true just because it's banned?
Yes. We falsely attribute a high degree of validity to it simply because an authority figure is attempting to keep it from us.
Which makes no logical sense. I mean, just because a piece of information is banned doesn't mean it's accurate. A book could be banned because it contains complete, provable nonsense.
Exactly.
But our toddler brain bypasses logic and says, if the government or the platform doesn't want me to see this, it must be the secret truth. So manipulators can actually launder a lie by pretending it's a forbidden secret.
Precisely. It's a very common tactic. And this serves as the perfect bridge in our discussion.
How so?
Well, Cialdini shows us the inherent behavioral reflexes we all share, the shortcuts. But Karamers's work takes us much deeper. We are crossing over from simply exploiting natural shortcuts into the dark arts.
The dark arts. I like that.
We are looking at how manipulators actively bypass our conscious rational minds entirely to implant desires we never even knew we had.
We are diving into the murky, uncharted waters of the subconscious, and the sources point to a massive historical shift that occurred when the clinical tools of psychoanalysis were weaponized for marketing and political campaigns.
Yes, there is a specific figure highlighted here, Ernest Dichter.
Ernest Dichter, right. He was a psychoanalyst who took Freud's theories from the therapist's couch and brought them directly to Madison Avenue advertising.
He completely revolutionized how influence operated. Prior to his influence, advertising was primarily based on rational appeal.
Like giving you a list of facts.
Exactly. If you were selling a bar of soap, your advertisement focused on the functional utility of the soap. It cleans dirt effectively, it lasts a long time, it is reasonably priced. The advertiser was speaking directly to the conscious, evaluating mind of the consumer.
But Dichter looked at that and essentially said, "You are wasting your time."
He realized people don't buy things for rational reasons.
Right, they buy things to resolve hidden, irrational, deeply unconscious anxieties. So Dichter told advertisers to stop selling soap. Instead, sell the feeling of washing away your sins.
It's entirely emotional.
He told car manufacturers to stop talking about fuel efficiency. He said, "You aren't selling transportation, you are selling dominance, freedom, and sexual prowess. You are selling a metal exoskeleton for the fragile male ego."
He discovered that if you could map the deep psyche of the public, you could manipulate behavior without ever engaging their critical faculties. And what makes this relevant to our deep dive is how rapidly and aggressively this methodology crossed over from selling consumer goods to selling political candidates.
Yeah, this is where it gets scary. The inflection point for this is usually cited as the 1960 U.S. presidential campaign between John F. Kennedy and Richard Nixon.
Dichter's methodologies were brought directly into the political arena. It changed the fundamental DNA of democracy.
Because think about what a political campaign was supposed to be in theory. It's supposed to be a rational debate over policy, tax rates, and foreign relations.
Subjects that require the conscious mind to evaluate data.
Exactly, to project future outcomes. But the introduction of psychoanalytic marketing transformed political campaigns into emotional, psychological theater.
They began selling candidates exactly how they sold cars. They used focus groups to identify the hidden anxieties of the electorate: fear of the future, fear of obsolescence, desire for youth. And then they engineered the candidate's image to be the symbolic cure for those specific anxieties.
So the politician ceased to be a public servant and became a projected symbol for the voter's own internal narrative.
Exactly.